right, welcome. Today we have joining our podcast is Tyler Milligan with Milligan Partners. We also have Rachel Bell with KTA. Hosting today, we have myself, Kaylee Jakovics, as well as our CEO and founder of Mojo, Alexander Fakari.
How's it going?
And today we're going to talk about the upcoming IBTTA Tech Summit that is happening May 4th through the 7th, as well as back office design and functionality.
Yeah, so this is one I'm particularly excited about. But I have to say, it's great to have you on here, Rachel and Tyler. It's good to have you on again. So he just had such a good time, he had to come back for some more. So it's going to be a good session. But yesterday on the other podcast we were talking about how long people have been in, and so Rachel, we need to know how long you've been a member of IBTTA.
24 years.
Oh,
it's been a long time.
She's
24 years. How are you old enough to have 24 years of experience? We're like 16. What are you doing there?
Tyler, you're always my favorite. Going right for the suck up right there.
Rachel, I do remember hearing your story about how you kind of first got involved with IBTTA and it was a little overwhelming. Do you want to share anything about that? And kind of how you got involved in some of the committees and groups and just, what you think about the group in general as well.
Yeah, when I got to the Kansas Turnpike, my boss was actually the first female president of IBTTA. Back in 1995 was when she was president. And so she was a real advocate for me participating, and that led me to attending meetings early on and getting involved in committees, and it's been a good run.
That's awesome. And there's one thing I have to say is, when you come to these events, especially IBTTA, I mean, it's a fantastic event, but, if you're new or, you're just, trying to make your way around, it's a little difficult. And I love the fact, how welcoming they have these, for new attendees and everything. And they really go out to make sure they have little events and groups where you can start to get, for newbies coming in, you get to meet somebody. And that's where, in fact, where you and I met, right? Is that in Anaheim, California, we had that, and I remember it was like this outdoor, bar area. And there was like a ton of people and you're kind of wandering around. And I was like, a chicken with its head caught, not knowing where to go. But, I definitely wanted to kind of meet people because I felt a good energy. And Rachel was a champ. She was like, made me feel at home. Everybody had a good conversation. And yeah, that was a good day. So I appreciate that, making it easy for me to join. So
yeah,
it was
same
good.
thing with Tyler too, that just welcoming me and Rachel as well. Like, when I first joined, come join us for dinner, or, here's this event that we're going to. And it was just welcoming. So Thank you guys for that.
So now, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
You're good.
Yeah. Well, what I was actually going to say was, so now you've been coming, I think you're our ranking member, by the way, 24 years, you have the most experience. So I want to ask, with all that experience, and all these events that you can go to, what do you think about this upcoming session that's, just right around the corner, the Tech Summit? Maybe you can talk a little bit about that. And then specifically, when you attend these in general, what are you looking for as you prep to go, and what are you looking for when you get there?
The technology meeting is always so exciting. There's so many people there. It can be a bit overwhelming, especially if it's, your first meeting. But I always look for just a handful of takeaways overall. And sometimes I get those from the sessions. Sometimes I get them, from a reception or standing in line at the coffee bar to get coffee in the morning or something, because you just never know who's going to have that one little nugget that could change everything about the way that you do business.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, Tyler might be there giving you a good nugget.
No, I've gotten so much wisdom from Tyler.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's funny. We were talking the other day, and it was, planning, but what I hear you say, it's a little bit of planning, but it's also really just being receptive while you're there and being ready to learn and absorb. Is that what I'm picking up from you? Would you say that's the best route to take?
Absolutely. Just come with an open mind and try not to work. It's always so hard because you're trying to do your day job and also take in new ideas, but
Right.
don't bury yourself in your laptop during the sessions.
That's a tough one. Yeah.
Yeah.
No laptop. Tyler, do you bring your laptop or do you purposely keep it back like at the hotel?
I regret running my own business has not been very helpful, as you might know, Alex, with disconnecting.
Yeah. That's tough. I remember the first time we set our booth up, and actually said, okay, we're going to exhibit. This is going to be great. Yeah, we made the mistake of having the laptops at the booth, and that was horrible. And I like exhibit. I love having the trade show booth up, and seeing all and talking to all the vendors. I love that. But the first time, it was a mistake having the laptop. Then the next time, we didn't bring the laptop, and it was like, okay, I felt better. I was going through a little bit of withdrawal, admittedly. But then it was by the time the one time we went last year, I think it was, we did not have a booth. And man, I got so much more done and I didn't have a laptop with me. So I had so many more helpful connections. So I would just reaffirm what you two are saying is, disconnect, focus on being there. Yeah. That sounds like
there's also an opportunity I found I was guilty at first, or I felt guilty when I started experiencing this, but I would catch somebody at my booth or catch somebody right before a session would start. And you've got the folks in the hotel that are ringing their bell or blowing their horn or whatever they are to try to get you to go into the next session. And I catch myself lingering in the vendor space and continuing that conversation. And as I mentioned, I felt guilty at first that I was skipping something. But then I realized there's a balance of learning in the sessions as well as very explicitly using that time to catch up and have focused conversations with folks in the vendor space after everyone leaves, because then you have a bit of quiet, a bit of opportunity to, like if Rachel and I are catching up, it's a moment that you can at least focus. And I think that's valuable so that there's times where you're very clearly listening and learning. But then also I think it's valuable because we have so many people in one place, especially at the Tech Summit, where if you have a question, or even I'll catch, like if someone just spoke and I listen and I really enjoy their conversation, I will go find them and I'll try to catch them an hour, 2 hours later after their session and use that time to have focused conversations with that person because I've been able to reflect on whatever I thought about. And sometimes I'm not always very bold when it comes to asking questions in front of 1,000 people. And so it's really nice to step away and then say, hey, by the way, you said this thing. What did you really mean there? Or what was the client that experienced this? Can I connect with them? So I really suggest that using those two aspects of the work and your time in that physical space while you're there.
Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I love that. It's kind of really about finding the balance, and I'm going to definitely use that at this next event and, trying to schedule meetings and ask more questions individually to some of the even moderators, panelists as well. So thank you for that.
Dan, you know what? That kind of brings up a topic that I always get worried about. Like, and I'm sure I can't be alone. And you all say you're not alone, Alex. So I feel great. But no, the thought is there's almost like an unspoken. Is there a protocol or an etiquette being at these things, from what you wear when you talk to somebody? Is it right to approach them here or there? They're just coming off a stage, and it does get you a little nervous, right? I think it makes you pump the brakes a little bit, and I think that could be really bad if you're missing out on a great opportunity to go say hi to somebody or to talk to. Can you guys comment? Can anybody? You too, Kaylee. Because I have to tell a story here. Actually, I'm going to tell a story to show you this. I love this about Kaylee. Kaylee is a great alter ego. And I remember we were at, I think it was her first event together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're out there, and you know how they serve lunch, and everybody's out there. Well, Kaylee took it upon herself. She went out, and they were serving chorizo. No, not chorizo.
Churros.
Churros with chocolate dipping sauce. So she went and got a whole bunch of desserts and sat down at a table and handed them out to people. Hey, I brought you some dessert. And she's sitting there delivering these desserts, and people were just loving her.
Yep.
They're like, oh, wow, that's great. Sit down. So I think that boldness, is what I love about her.
Yeah, it did help open up some conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
So
good. Well, thank
what
you.
about you two? What about, when you're out there, do you have a protocol you follow, or what should somebody know? Can you give some advice?
That's a good
Rachel
question.
always dresses fancy. I think that's her thing. I don't know about.
I'm in jeans today, so you know. I mean, the one thing I appreciate about COVID is I'm wearing jeans almost every day in the office.
Yes.
I'm a little surprised we haven't made it to jeans at IBTTA meetings, honestly. I mean,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Especially
For
tour
the
day.
for the men, I can say ties have decreased. Jackets have slowed down a little bit. I think the I would suggest, even when I have new employees that go for the first time, I think business casual is more than appropriate. I think that um, there's that balance of sort of carrying yourself so that when you have that first interaction with somebody, the reality of things is that you have that first impression. You want to at least show
Right.
them you made an effort when you woke up that morning to do your hair.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's, to me, that's the minimum. I think that's the
Right.
reasonable minimum, because I also found that, like Rachel, like you were alluding to, different people have different office experiences, and even I've seen. I will say this, Rachel. It comes to think of it, I've seen men with showing up in nicer jeans with nicer shoes and a jacket, and that sort of sliding past that the uh, the dress code police at the door.
Yeah. Some people have their brand where they wear certain colors or flip-flops
Or flip flops. You're
Or,
right.
or red and black paisley suits from top to bottom. And he's not here to defend himself.
we've
Hey,
seen kilts.
yeah.
We have
There
seen
have been a few
Really?
Yep.
kilts. Yeah,
Wow.
that's true. I
Yeah.
was thinking about bringing one out again this year. We'll see.
You
There you
should.
go.
I've
We
been on a
have
little meeting hiatus here because of cashless tolling and then with my daughter graduating. So maybe when I get back around to attending again,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna wear my jeans.
Yeah,
it.
there you go. We will set a new trend. Well,
Yeah.
you know what? We should all wear matching outfits. We can follow Tyler and Martin's example, and I guess for Zan,
Oh, so you're gonna wear a
for Zan
kilt,
as well.
Alex?
Yeah, I might wear a kilt. Yeah, we'll all wear
I would
kilts.
pay to see that.
I will agree to flip flops.
Oh, yeah.
All right, there we
Okay.
go. We'll be the flip flop clan or something like that.
All right. Well, we have just a few more minutes, so
Yeah,
I want to shift
Let's get
into
serious.
one of the breakout sessions that Mojo is particularly excited about, which is the back office design and functionality. And I just kind of want to read just an overview of what it is, because I know the IBTTA staff has been working pretty hard putting it together, and we're excited. We want to get your thoughts on it as well. So, again, back office design and functionality. The ever-changing customer needs, particularly due to cash tolling coupled with technology advancements, have both toll agencies and toll vendors rethinking their back-office design and functionality. In this session, we will hear from agencies and the private industry that showcase differing approaches to the back office deployments. So any thoughts? Are you guys excited? I know that we are.
Well, I'd like to kind of just, share a couple thoughts. I think this is a great session. The reason we get excited about it is because we think now is the time when we need to look at the back office as your internal customers, right? You need to serve the internal customers, the external customers. There needs to be some unity from, phrases like customer journey, or when a CSR is out, communicating with a customer, that there's some fluidity or continuity between the designs and the experiences. But Rachel, you guys are going through this big cashless tolling change, right? I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are, because you have your own back office. Not everybody can say that.
Yeah, and there's another session too, the digital payment gateway. So that should be interesting as well.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this session? And I know you're not able to join us this time, right? But what if you were attending? Like, what's going around in your offices? As far as back office design and the functionality.
Yeah, I think for us here in Kansas, where we're building our own back office, The big thing is to be able to understand who your customers are, whether that's internal or external, right? To your point, the customer journey. But just being able to create something that works for your organization. And there's always space to learn. I mean, just because we're building the back office today and we're going to launch, in July, it doesn't mean that we can't learn something now that we might want to implement in the future. So there's always room for improvement, and it should be a good session.
Yeah. Tyler, what about from your standpoint? You guys are talking to a lot of agencies. What are you seeing, and what about this session is intriguing to you?
I think, and I was going to say, I thought it was a general session since you guys were on it. I didn't want to assume there was a breakout session, Alex.
Yeah.
I mean, I to cater a little bit to y'all's business model and or market. I really see self-service, a balance of self-service versus a real human interaction, understanding where to engage the customer, give them that opportunity to engage versus how to properly embark them to talk to an actual human, either through a chat, email, or on the phone. I think that really is valuable, and my clients at least are paying close attention to that. I think also there's a balance of how does AI fit into that model, and where as public agencies with limited resources and smaller technical staff backgrounds, how do they choose to benefit from leading technologies versus being frugal, or at least spending appropriate with their customers' monies.
I think that's interesting. You also, they all are evaluating which technologies to prioritize, right, in their systems. I mean, you mentioned AI, and that's obviously the term of the decade, I'd say, for most conversations. But Rachel, I'm curious, have you guys been looking at AI from your implementations that you're, this new release that you have coming up, or is that maybe a little further down the road?
It's a little further down the road for us. We are still at the point where we're, I would say, monitoring it and looking at it, trying to make sure that when we implement it, it's done correctly and responsibly.
Yeah, vetting it out, making sure it's good.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's great. I am, I'm just looking over here, and one of the things I was kind of curious about is, when you're looking at these back offices, one of the other session they have along with this is the digital payment gateway, right? And this, I'm just going to skim over it really quickly here. As far as it's a panel of representatives, 21 participating toll agencies, and an RFI for digital payment gateways provide the insight into information ideas they receive from the vendor community. And so, digital payment gateway, Tyler, I'd love to hear from your perspective, from the consulting side of it. Do you have anything to contribute there, or what do you think what should people be listening for?
My perspective on this is definitely it's agency centric. So I think for our audience that are coming from the public agency, public operator, I think this is a valuable opportunity to understand what conversations have been held so far, what progress is being made through the evaluation process, and I think payments are simple. However, public agencies don't always take the simple approach and are sometimes limited in ways that, for example, one of my clients is limited by they're a small agency within a larger public space. And so they're driven by what their larger parent organization does. And so I think that's what's held back some of the agencies when it comes to modernization and their payment experience. And that's where I'm hopeful that this digital payment exercise or effort that's being put forth will create an opportunity that different agencies can benefit from all at once. And that's really the gain, I think, from a consultant side or vendor side. I think it's an opportunity to plug into a bigger picture instead of having to go through the more tedious procurement process of having to gain work at every single client's through their governance space.
Well, as we start to wrap this up, I want to ask one follow-up question to that. And for those who aren't as familiar, I mean, when we talk about these digital payment gateways, the thing that comes to mind here for me, and I'd love to, be course corrected on this, is, those unbanked payment options, right? Your Venmos, your PayPals, all those different aspects. What do you think is the biggest, first off, am I correct in that understanding? And with that being said, what do you think is the biggest obstacle for, unbanked options, or even just digital payment gateways as a general term, phrase being used? What is the biggest option? Is it always the parent company? Is it always a budget? Or is there more technology issues lying underneath there?
I'll let Rachel. I feel like you would feel the pain more implicitly than I would.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of all of it. I mean, it is understanding the lay of the land, which right now there seems to be a lot of maybe noise. And I think that this panel, this presentation should help kind of boil that down into some more digestible pieces of information. I know KTA participated, and it was at some point it was like drinking from the fire hose because of the amount of information that was coming in.
Right.
But for us, I think we see the value in trying to diversify those payment methods, because it seems like, with 50% of our traffic being from out of state, people want to use different things. It's no longer the major credit cards or a check or cash. So just being able to offer what your customers want. It goes back to know your audience, right? Know who your customers are.
Right. And I think what's also interesting is, you don't want it to go necessarily to the route of paying with Bitcoin, right? But what are those options going to be? And I think it's a good conversation. I'm looking forward to. So
I think one of the things I want to just real quick on that is the toll industry's ability to share information and to partner together has always been very impressive to me. And I think this digital gateway is a really good example of that.
That's
I think,
great.
The Pennsylvania Turnpike kind of took that on, and there have been lots of great partners involved with that.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing today. Your recommendations, your insights. We really appreciate you guys hopping on and being part of this podcast series. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we hope you guys, everybody who's watching, we hope you picked up some great insights from two pros here who definitely know the tolling industry very well. And, as we hope to see you, Rachel, at the annual, because I think that's the next event that's coming up is the annual. And has it been announced? October, November? Do we know the date on that yet?
I believe it's October.
Okay, October. Well, that should be good. And then, but yeah, thank you very much for joining in. So as many of you may have seen or heard from the other podcasts that have been released, there's a reminder that the upcoming, we're going to have a fireside chat. I shouldn't say it's a reminder. It's an announcement of the fireside chat that's going to be taking place approximately 10 days, plus or minus a day. The date will be released here soon, on a follow-up to IBTTA. So this is kind of after the dust has settled and everybody's gone back to work. How do we not lose those aha moments and really make the most of it? And so Rachel and Tyler, I hope you both will join us on that. It'll be a great experience to kind of share, the takeaways and just whatever transpired. So it made some good follow-up actions. So thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.